Chapter 13 opens in a shop that feels busy but unsettled. Bays are full but not moving cleanly. One car is halfway torn down waiting on parts. Another is sitting on a rack because approval hasn't been followed up on. A technician is leaning at the counter doing mental math, wondering how much flag time they've already lost today. The phone rings again with a customer just checking on a car that hasn't moved in hours. Then a walk-in steps up and asks two questions that quietly decide whether the day survives. I just need a quick oil change. How fast can you do it? And can you match this coupon? A capable advisor feels the pressure immediately. The shop looks slammed. A tech is waiting. The lobby is watching. Saying yes feels helpful. Saying no feels risky. So they say yes too fast. They slide the car into the workflow. They assign a bay. They match the coupon to keep things smooth. They tell the tech, we'll just knock it out real quick. Nothing explodes right away. But under the surface, the damage starts. A high-cost bay gets tied up with low-margin work. A more valuable approved job waits. The oil change takes longer than promised. Customer gets irritated anyway. The tech loses time. The day starts collapsing in small, quiet ways. This is how shops stay busy and still struggle. The fracture isn't laziness. It isn't lack of effort. It's advisors making financial decisions without understanding the cost of the yes. Discounting to relieve tension. Starting work before approvals and parts are locked. Treating bays like unlimited space instead of the most expensive real estate in the building. It feels like service. It looks like productivity. But it drains profit, morale, and standards at the same time. Financial decisions are being made all day at the front counter, whether anyone admits it or not. Every discount, every rushed approval, every bay assignment. When those decisions are made emotionally instead of intentionally, the shop pays later. Not in one dramatic failure, but in stalled bays, frustrated technicians, delayed customers, and margins that never seem to match the workload. This is where many advisors get stuck. They want to help. They want to keep things moving. They don't want to be the reason a customer leaves or a tech waits. But without understanding cost, every yes becomes a gamble. And the worst part is how invisible it feels. The shop looks busy. The phones are ringing. Cars are coming in. Everyone is working hard. But the numbers don't tell the same story. Profit shrinks, stress grows. Standards bend to survive the day. At this level, failure isn't missing a sale. Failure is running a shop that looks productive while quietly selling itself broke. This chapter exists because advisors are not just selling repairs. They are managing labor that expires by the minute. They are protecting bays that cost real money to operate. They are deciding whether the shop can afford to train, warranty, hire well, and stand behind its work long term. Profit isn't greed. It's oxygen. Without it, the shop can't invest in equipment, training, pay, or culture. Without it, decisions get desperate, and desperate decisions always lower standards. The shift at this tier is responsibility. You stop making nice decisions without knowing the cost. You stop apologizing for fair pricing you don't understand. You stop starting work that can't move. You stop letting coupons and urgency dictate the day. This chapter is about seeing the shop differently. Not as a place that just needs cars and bays, but as an operation that must protect its resources to survive with integrity. When advisors understand the numbers, their posture changes. They pause instead of reacting. They ask different questions. They protect the day instead of chasing it. And when the front counter understands cost, the shop stops bleeding in silence. Busy shops fail quietly when numbers are misunderstood. Most shops don't collapse from one bad decision. They erode from hundreds of small, well-intentioned choices made without understanding cost. The shop stays busy. Cars keep coming in. Everyone works hard. And yet, the numbers never seem to catch up to the effort. That disconnect usually starts at the front counter. Advisors are making financial decisions all day long, often without realizing it. Every time a discount is offered to smooth the conversation. Every time work is started before approval is locked. Every time a bay is assigned to just knock something out. Each of those choices feels small in isolation. Together, they shape whether the shop survives with standards intact. When advisors don't understand margins, being helpful becomes expensive. Matching a coupon feels like service. Starting work early feels efficient. Saying yes quickly feels like control. But those actions carry hidden costs that don't show up until later. Stalled bays, lost flag time, rushed work, comebacks, and days that feel exhausting without being profitable. labor is not unlimited. It is perishable. Every minute a bay is blocked by work that cannot move is a minute that can never be recovered. When advisors treat labor like free capacity instead of costly inventory, the shop pays for it silently. Margin works the same way. Margin is not extra. It is what absorbs mistakes, supports warranties, funds training, and keeps pressure from turning into desperation. When margin is bled out through emotional discounting or low-value work, standards start to bend. Corners get cut. Tension rises. Culture phrase. This is why some shops feel constantly behind even on busy days. The workload looks full, but the work is poorly stacked. High-cost labor is tied up with low-return jobs. Approvals lag. Parts aren't confirmed. The day becomes a series of apologies instead of progress. None of this comes from bad intent. It comes from not seeing the numbers clearly enough to pause. Shops that stabilize don't do more work. They do clearer work. Advisors understand that every yes has a cost, every discount has a ripple effect, and every started job must be finishable. When the numbers are understood, decisions slow just enough to become intentional. Busy stops being the goal. Healthy becomes the goal. That shift starts when advisors understand how quickly a shop can fail, not loudly, but quietly, by misunderstanding the numbers that drive it. What actually happens when advisors say yes without knowing the cost? The first thing that happens is the bay gets trapped. Work starts without approval, without parts, or without a realistic timeline. The vehicle sits. The tech waits. Another job that was ready gets delayed. What looked like momentum turns into blockage. The second thing that happens is technician trust erodes. Techs feel the cost immediately. They lose flag time. They get pulled off work midstream. They inherit rush deadlines tied to promises they didn't make. Over time, they stop trusting the front counter to protect their time. Next, customer experience degrades. Delays multiply. Updates get awkward. Promises slip. Customers feel misled even when no one intended to mislead them. Frustration grows because the shop looks busy but progress is unclear. Then margin disappears. Discounts given to relieve tension stack up. Low-value work displaces profitable work. Rechecks and comebacks consume hours that were already sold once. The shop works harder to make less. Finally, leadership gets reactive. Instead of directing the day, leaders spend time calming situations created by rushed yeses. Energy goes into cleanup instead of improvement. Stress rises because the shop feels out of control despite constant motion. None of this happens because advisors are careless. It happens because they were trying to help without understanding the full cost of help. Saying yes without knowing the cost turns service into sabotage. It teaches customers to negotiate, trains techs to brace for chaos, and teaches the shop that urgency overrides standards. When advisors understand cost, the outcome changes. Yes becomes intentional. No becomes respectful. Maybe becomes strategic. Bays move. Techs trust the counter. Customers feel clarity instead of confusion. The question isn't whether to help. The question is whether the help can be finished, supported, and stood behind. When that question guides decisions, the shop stops bleeding quietly and starts operating on purpose. Financial literacy at the advisor level is not about spreadsheets. It is about protecting the flow of the day. Every decision at the counter either frees the shop to move or quietly blocks it. When advisors understand cost, they stop reacting to pressure and start managing reality. That shift changes everything. The first discipline is treating labor as inventory. Labor is paid for whether it is productive or not. Once a minute passes unused or blocked, it is gone forever. When work is started without approval, parts, or time alignment, labor inventory is wasted. The bay becomes a holding cell instead of a production asset. Financially literate advisors do not allow that. They only commit labor that can move. The second discipline is margin awareness. Margin is not greed. Margin is what absorbs mistakes, funds warranties, supports training, and allows the shop to stand behind its work. Advisors who do not understand margin treat discounts like courtesy. Advisors who do understand margin treat discounts like tools. They know when a discount corrects an error, earns long-term loyalty, or closes a strategic plan. They also know when a discount is emotional and destructive. The third discipline is bay readiness. Before deep work begins, 3 conditions must be met. Approval is documented, parts are confirmed, and time expectations are realistic. If any of those are missing, the work does not start. This is not rigidity. It is respect for the tech, the customer, and the day. Half-started work creates more problems than it solves. Next comes capacity judgment. Not all work fits today. Financially literate advisors stop measuring success by car count and start measuring it by flow. They choose work that can be completed cleanly instead of stacking the shop with promises that collapse later. This protects customers from delay and techs from frustration. Value communication replaces price defense. Advisors explain what the price includes, what standards are being upheld, and how the shop stands behind the work. They do not apologize for fair pricing. They offer responsible phasing when appropriate without undermining margin or quality. Under pressure, these rules tighten. Advisors do not loosen standards to relieve discomfort. They shorten explanations but keep readiness gates firm. Pressure tests discipline. It does not excuse abandoning it. At Tier 4, this becomes cultural. Advisors audit discounts. Leaders review stalled bays. Conversations shift from, can we fit it? Can we finish it, stand behind it, and protect the day? New advisors are coached early so financial ignorance does not spread. This is how financial literacy turns into leadership. The counter stops bleeding the shop quietly. The bays move with intention. Technicians trust the flow. Customers experience clarity instead of chaos. Money stops being awkward. It becomes understood. The purpose of this chapter is to stop financial damage before it becomes invisible. When advisors understand margins, labor inventory, and bay flow, they stop making decisions that feel kind in the moment but destructive over time. The shop becomes calmer because fewer problems are created in the first place. The first goal is to protect profit with integrity. Advisors learn to say yes only when the work can be completed properly, priced fairly, and supported after delivery. Discounts become intentional tools, not emotional reflexes. Profit is treated as protection, not padding. The second goal is to create confidence under pressure. When advisors understand cost, they do not panic when customers push on price or timing. They explain value clearly, hold readiness gates calmly, and make decisions they can stand behind. Stress no longer dictates the answer. The third goal is to stop silent margin bleed. Half-started jobs, stalled bays, emotional discounts, and low-value work without future plans are eliminated. The shop stops looking busy while struggling. Work flows. Tech time is respected. The day becomes predictable. Elite shops are not aggressive with money. They are precise. They understand that labor expires, bays cost real dollars, and margin keeps standards alive. Advisors who operate with this clarity protect customers, technicians, and the long-term health of the business at the same time. When this mindset becomes standard, culture improves. Techs stop feeling used. Customers stop feeling rushed or trapped. Leadership stops firefighting financial messes created at the counter. Busy no longer masquerades as success. Nice no longer replaces responsible. And profit no longer feels uncomfortable. It feels earned, explained, and necessary. That is what financial literacy looks like at the advisor level.